In the annals of American folklore, few cryptids have captured the public imagination, quite like the Mothman. Described as a humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and massive wings, the Mothman has been the subject of sightings, theories, and legends for over half a century. Its origins lie in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where a series of strange encounters in the mid-1960s sparked widespread intrigue and fear. Yet to this day, Mothman remains one of the most mysterious and compelling figures in cryptozoology. Though the first modern sightings of Mothman began in 1966, some believe the creature might have ties to older folklore and legends in the region. Native American tribes such as the Shawnee had stories of a flying man who inhabited the Ohio River Valley, warning of impending disaster. Early settlers in the area also recounted tales of ghostly apparitions and strange winged creatures, suggesting that Mothman could be part of a much older tradition of unexplained phenomena in the region. However, the Mothman legend as we know it began on the night of November 15, 1966, near Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mollett, had a chilling encounter with an unexplainable creature. The group was driving near the TNT area, an abandoned World War II munitions site dotted with concrete igloos and overgrown wilderness, when they saw a figure unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was described as being 6 to 7 feet tall, with a human-like body, glowing red eyes, and massive wings spanning 10 to 12 feet. The creature seemed to follow their car, matching their speed even as they drove at over 100 miles per hour before veering off into the night. Shaken and terrified, the group reported their experience to the local authorities. The sheriff's deputy who took their statement noted how genuinely frightened they were, dismissing the possibility of a prank. This initial report was published in the Point Pleasant Register the following day with the headline, "Couples see man-sized bird, creature, something." The story quickly gained traction, spreading beyond Point Pleasant and sparking interest from journalists, researchers, and thrill seekers, eager to capture a glimpse of the mysterious figure. The Scarberry and Mollett sighting was just the beginning. In the days and weeks that followed, dozens of other residents reported seeing a similar creature. One particularly notable account came from Marcella Bennett, who claimed that the Mothman appeared outside her home while she was visiting her brother near the TNT area. Bennett described the creature as tall and menacing, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. Terrified, she ran into the house and barricaded the door, later describing how the experience left her traumatized for years. Another widely publicized sighting involved Thomas Urey, who was driving along Route 62 near the TNT area when he saw the creature standing in a field. As Urey sped away, the creature took flight and followed his car for several miles, hovering above it before finally disappearing. These accounts, combined with the Scarberry and Mollett report, painted a consistent picture of a strange humanoid entity that could fly at incredible speeds and seemed to target vehicles in isolated areas. The TNT area itself became a focal point of the sightings. Once a bustling munitions site during World War II, it had fallen into disrepair by the 1960s, with abandoned buildings, dense forests, and man-made tunnels providing an eerie backdrop for the legend. The area's isolation, combined with its history of hazardous chemicals and underground structures, added to the mystique surrounding Mothman. Many locals speculated that the creature might be a mutation caused by chemical contamination in the area. It's important to note that these Mothman sightings were not happening in isolation. At the same time, residents of Point Pleasant began reporting an increase in UFO sightings and other unexplained phenomena. Strange lights were seen in the sky, mysterious men in black reportedly appeared, and some residents experienced unexplained electrical disturbances in their homes. These coinciding events led many to believe that Mothman was not just a cryptid, but part of a larger, more complex paranormal phenomenon. Journalist John Keel, who would later write the Mothman prophecies, arrived in Point Pleasant in 1966 to investigate. Keel interviewed dozens of witnesses and began to piece together a broader narrative of the events. He suggested that Mothman might be linked to UFO activity or even interdimensional beings, a theory that captivated the public and elevated the story from local legend to international mystery. The Mothman legend took a tragic turn on December 15, 1967, with a catastrophic collapse of the Silver Bridge, a suspension bridge that spanned the Ohio River, connecting Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to Gallipoli, Ohio. The collapse occurred during the evening rush hour, sending vehicles and their passengers plunging into the icy river below. A total of 46 people lost their lives, with only 2 bodies ever recovered. The event marked one of the worst bridge disasters in U.S. history and left the communities of Point Pleasant and Gallipoli reeling in shock and grief. While the official cause of the collapse was later determined to be the failure of a single eye bar in the bridge's suspension system due to stress corrosion and a design flaw, the tragedy became inexorably linked to the sightings of Mothman. The collapse happened during the height of the Mothman panic, leading many to believe that the cryptid was somehow connected to the disaster, either as a harbinger of doom or as a supernatural force tied to the events. In the weeks leading up to the Silver Bridge collapse, sightings of Mothman were at their peak. Eyewitnesses claimed to have seen the creature near the bridge, perched on its structure or flying above the area. Some even reported hearing strange noises, such as metallic screeches emanating from the bridge. For many, these sightings and sounds seemed like an ominous warning of the tragedy to come. When the bridge fell, these reports took on new significance, and Mothman was cemented into local lore as a prophetic figure associated with disaster. The Silver Bridge collapse and its association with Mothman had a profound impact on the community of Point Pleasant. In the immediate aftermath of the disaster, locals struggled to process the loss and the bizarre circumstances surrounding it. For many, the connection to Mothman offered a way to make sense of the tragedy, framing it as part of a larger, mysterious narrative rather than a random, senseless event. Media coverage of the collapse and the Mothman sightings amplified the legend, spreading it beyond West Virginia to a national audience. Newspapers and television programs covered the tragedy extensively, often mentioning the Mothman connection as a curiosity. However, it was journalist John Keel who first brought the story of Mothman to national attention. Arriving in Point Pleasant in 1966 to investigate the sightings, Keel's research culminated in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, which elevated the cryptid from local lore to international fame. The book was adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere, which dramatized the events surrounding the Silver Bridge collapse and the Mothman sightings. The movie introduced a new generation to the legend and reignited interest in the creature. Beyond Keel's work, Mothman became a staple in folklore, drawing comparisons to other winged cryptids like thunderbirds in Native American mythology and bat squatch in the Pacific Northwest. Some viewed Mothman as a guardian or spiritual figure, while others saw it as a malevolent entity. The creature's ambiguous nature allowed it to inhabit multiple roles, from a symbol of mystery to a bringer of catastrophe. While the original Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, West Virginia are the most famous, reports of similar winged creatures have persisted well beyond the 1960s. These modern sightings span decades and continents, suggesting that Mothman, or at least a creature resembling it, may not be confined to West Virginia. From urban areas to remote wilderness, eyewitnesses continue to report encounters with large humanoid figures with glowing eyes and massive wings, fueling speculation about whether these creatures are part of the same phenomenon or represent something entirely new. One of the most significant waves of modern sightings happened in Chicago, Illinois, between 2011 and 2017. During this period, over 50 reports of a Mothman-like creature emerged from the Chicago area, particularly near Lake Michigan, O'Hare International Airport, and other urban landmarks. Witnesses consistently described a large, black humanoid figure with glowing red or orange eyes and a wingspan ranging from 10 to 15 feet. Many sightings took place in heavily populated areas, with witnesses including construction workers, airline employees, and everyday residents. One of the earliest reports from this period came in 2011, when a man and his son claimed to see a large bat-like creature flying over their car near Chicago's Stevenson Expressway. The creature reportedly had glowing red eyes and flapped its wings noiselessly as it flew overhead. In 2017, an even greater number of sightings were reported, with witnesses claiming the creature appeared near airports, busy streets, and parks. One chilling account came from an O'Hare Airport employee who described seeing a tall, dark figure with large wings standing near a fence before it took off into the sky with a powerful whooshing sound. Beyond the United States, Mothman-like creatures have also been reported in various countries, each with its own cultural interpretations. In Chernobyl, Ukraine, locals claim to have seen a winged humanoid figure known as the Black Bird of Chernobyl in the weeks leading up to the 1986 nuclear disaster. Witnesses described a dark, ominous figure with glowing red eyes hovering near the nuclear power plant. After the meltdown, sightings ceased, but the legend has endured as a cautionary tale, reinforcing Mothman's reputation as a harbinger of disaster. In Japan, a similar creature known as the Tengu has existed in folklore for centuries. Tengu are often described as humanoid bird figures with wings and sharp beaks, believed to be both protectors and tricksters. Although not explicitly connected to Mothman, modern sightings of mysterious flying figures in Japan have drawn comparisons between the two legends. In Latin America, reports of La Lechuza, a mythical owl-like creature, bears striking similarities to Mothman. La Lechuza is said to be a witch who transforms into a giant bird with glowing eyes, often appearing at night to forewarn of death or tragedy. While these legends predate Mothman, the parallels suggest a shared human fascination with winged, ominous beings across cultures. Despite the many modern reports, skepticism remains strong. Experts in biology and wildlife often attribute sightings to known animals, such as great horned owls, barn owls, or frigate birds, all of which have features that could be exaggerated into Mothman-like descriptions. The reflective tapetum lucidum in many animals' eyes can cause them to appear to glow red in low light, while the large wingspans of birds can be mistaken for something supernatural in the right conditions. Psychologists suggest that the phenomenon of pareidolia, the tendency to perceive familiar patterns such as faces or humanoid shapes in ambiguous stimuli, might explain some sightings. When combined with the influence of Mothman lore and the human tendency to seek patterns in chaos, it's easy to see how ordinary occurrences could be interpreted as supernatural. The history of Mothman is a testament to the power of folklore and the enduring human need to explore the unknown. From its eerie beginnings in Point Pleasant to its rise as a cultural and paranormal icon, Mothman represents the intersection of history, mystery, and myth. Whether a harbinger of doom, a misunderstood animal, or a visitor from another realm, the legend of Mothman continues to captivate and inspire, reminding us that the world still holds mysteries waiting to be uncovered.